Hello students, this is Mr. Dowd and this is another video. This time it is about the outline for the CBA. The CBA, that is our classroom-based assessment for social studies. This is of course the Washington State assessment for social studies. You get those 3 times in your school career, once in 5th grade, once in 8th grade, and you'll do it again when you're a junior. So the CBA is basically a research-based essay, and this essay you have had 3 choices. Those choices are based on 3 questions. One of the questions is, should schools have dress codes? The second one is, should schools ban cell phones during the school day? And a third one is, should teachers carry guns to protect their students? So those are our choices. By now, you have chosen one of those, and you have done the research for this, your 3 sources, and now it's time to do the outline. So if you look right here in our Google Classroom, that's where you will see the outline, and I've made a copy of it so I can make some marks on it and not ruin yours. So obviously a place up the top for your name and your class period, and then just put the topic right here afterwards. Maybe you chose the dress codes topic. Just add it. And oh, I can see it's already been added. And then your essential question goes here. We did all start with the question to do our research, and it may be something like, why do schools have dress codes? And remember, our essential question does not ask for a binary answer. Should schools have dress codes? That's something you are going to decide, yes or no, and then you're going to defend the side that you take. For an essential question, for something that we're going to base our research around, we want to ask for an explanation. So we're going to ask why. Why do schools have dress codes? And then here is where you will put your claim. And remember, a claim is the main idea or central idea or topic sentence of your essay. When we are writing an argumentative piece, we call it a claim. So because you're taking a side on the issue, since you're arguing for the issue, this is your claim instead of your topic. And I'm just going to make one up. Schools should not restrict what students can wear. Period. So if I'm against dress codes, I would write something like this. Schools should not restrict what students can wear. Now, right here we have an outline that represents the 6 paragraphs of this essay. This top piece right here is going to be your first paragraph, your introductory paragraph. And if we highlight this and use our highlighter tool, then we can choose green. Just like when we did this with highlighters and paper on our paragraphs and our American Revolution essay, the first paragraph and the last paragraph, we color these things, green. And I'm just going to use the highlighter tool to do that. If you look up at the top here, I'm showing my read-write tools. You can also use these highlighting tools as well. Now, I've got that done. Now, for the side here, these will represent the first sentences of the body paragraph. So this is our yellow section. This is our pink section. I'm going to go ahead and just use the Google tools and highlight that yellow. So this would be our second paragraph going across. This would be paragraph number 2, paragraph number 3, paragraph number 4, number 5, number 6. I'm going to go ahead and just highlight. I know that coloring the different sections helps some students keep their writing ordered, and it helps them understand which parts of the paragraph do which job. So we're just going to quickly go through and highlight. And this one we will make pink. There we go. Now I'm going to time travel for a minute. Okay, we're back from time traveling. You didn't need to wait while I colored all those. So the other thing about how this outline is divided up is that if you follow the outline, you will have all of the parts in your CBA to meet the requirements on the rubric that we get from the state of Washington. So one of those things the rubric requires is a paragraph that addresses the background of the issue and some other information. And so for here, if my topic is dress code, what I can do in terms of the outline is I can just plop in a couple of words. I might just say dress code. This is a reminder to me that I have to define dress code, give a little history of dress code based on my research. I'm just going to drop these words in here to help me do that. And then in this section it says this paragraph needs a history or background. It also needs to identify the groups of people involved and why this issue is important. And so I can do that maybe just with a couple of bullet points. For instance, groups of people might be teachers, students, and the issue of why this issue is important. Maybe I'm against dress codes because I feel that restricting students' ability to wear what they want restricts their ability to express themselves the way they want to be seen. And I'm just going to write it quickly. Again, this is not sentences here. This is not a rough draft. It's an outline. It's just a way to organize our thoughts from what we have in our notes. Now, the democratic ideal or constitutional principle, this is from a glossary list that is in the same section as the live binder. Here is the live binder part of our Google Classroom, and down in here is democratic ideals and constitutional principles. If we open this document, we can see a list of these democratic ideals and constitutional principles. This top part is the list that's actually right from the state of Washington. And these are these ideals and principles that they present to teachers as part of the CBA package. And then I made a glossary of the ones that students used most in years past. Here are several of them that you can choose from. I think that these ones would really work. If you're set on something in the list up here that isn't defined down here and you don't know what it means, then you can come and ask me. So, in the case of dress codes, I think there's several that you could go with. If I'm arguing in favor of, or if I'm arguing against dress codes, I might choose liberty, because liberty means freedom, and if I can't wear what I want, that is a restriction on my freedom to choose what I wear. I think that equality might, maybe it's a bit more of a stretch, but you could argue that it's not it's not equal, that people other places get to wear what they want, but not in school. I think that's maybe a weaker argument than the liberty. I also think that you could make a general human rights argument based on having your creativity and your freedom of expression restricted. Again, this paragraph is going to have to address how this democratic ideal relates to your claim. In the case of my example, schools should not restrict what students wear. I'll take my own advice and just drop one of those in here. And then over on this part, I would explain about freedom to wear what I want and not restricting my expression and blah, blah, blah. In the next paragraph, it says, expert that supports your position. This is where you identify one of your sources. And that is going to be some person or some organization that is in your notes that agrees with your claim. Someone who is going to help support your argument that, in the case of my example, that schools should not have dress codes. Now, should it be just any random person? Well, no, it should be somebody who, according to what you have researched, has some expertise, that knows something about this in a professional capacity. And also, it can be a person. It could be the author's name of the article if they're knowledgeable. It could be the name of a person who was interviewed in one of those articles. Or it could be the name of an organization. An example would be the American Civil Liberties Union. They are an organization that will support people who are saying that their civil rights have been violated. The acronym is ACLU. If they have a quote about students' freedom to wear what they want, and you could elaborate on that, maybe that's what you would put here, ACLU, and then what their explanation is. But again, you're going to know what that is because you're going to find that person or that group of people in your notes. On the fifth paragraph down here, this where it says common good and individual rights, this is where the counterclaim comes in. And so for my example of the dress code, I am going to start this paragraph by explaining what is the school's reason for having a dress code? Why does the school say it needs to restrict what students wear? That's what you would put here. And then down here, you're going to say how this decision to do the restriction violates your constitutional rights. And you're going to have to identify which amendment. I might put that here. And if you're paying attention, you know that our freedom of expression is part of our freedom of speech, and that is in, of course, the First Amendment. Now, and that can also go in here. And then again, like I say, here you're going to explain, well, what is the school's reason? Maybe the school is arguing that if we don't have a dress code, it will be too distracting for students and they won't be able to learn. And then and this is what I call a pivot. So you're going to start with your counterclaim. You're going to give a couple sentences here that do explain to the reader of your CBA what is the other side of this issue. Any good argument should acknowledge the other side. And then as you make a case for the other side of the argument, you make a case for why schools have a dress code, then you pivot. And in the middle of the sentence when you're writing it, you might throw in a word like, however, this decision to have a dress code violates my, and then you'll identify which part of the Constitution. Violates our First Amendment rights. And then finally you have a conclusion, which is where you are going to give a brief summary of the points. You are going to restate the claim with a conclusion starter like, in conclusion. And then this last piece here is a call to action. And this used to be an extra thing, like for going from a 3 to a 4 on the state's rubric. Now they have included it as part of what they expect. So this is not an extra raise your grade anymore. It is a required part of the CBA. And a call to action is something specific that your reader can do to support your claim. So it can't be protest dress codes or be against dress codes. It has to be something specific like go to the next school board meeting and demand that schools let students have the freedom they deserve or something like that. It needs to be specific. Who can they write? Who can they protest? What can they do to support your claim.